Hello and welcome to this look at a brand new release from Demon Records, Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. I'm Michael Stevens, and joining me are three people closely associated with this beauty. First of all, we have Dirk Maggs, who, as well as being the namesake of the hero of the piece, he wrote and directed this BBC radio drama. We have Tom Fournier from Oink Creative, who designed this beautiful gatefold sleeve. And we have Ben Stanley, who is head of product and marketing for Demon Records. Hello all.
Hello, Michael.
Hi. So Dirk, perhaps first of all, could you tell us what exactly are people going to hear when they put these discs on their turntable?
Oh, that's very good, Michael. Yeah, I've actually still got mine. You said unboxing, so look, I've got it in its box. So I've got it in the box. However, I've taken the condom off it, so it's a bit of a giveaway that I've actually opened it already. But I yes. What are they going to hear? Well, I'd certainly say for a start, what they're going to see is the best artwork I have seen Tom and Oink do on any of our releases so far. Yeah. If I'm including Hitchhikers, which they did a fantastic job on, and then Good Omens. But this is an absolute belter. And I have to say, very quickly, stealing your thunder, it's actually a triple gatefold sleeve. This is any prog fan's wet dream from the 70s. Speaking as a prog fan from the 70s. But yeah, what are you going to hear? Well, you're going to hear the you're going to hear the transmission versions of the series, which we made in 2007 with Harry Enfield as Dirk and Olivia Colman and as his long-suffering secretary Janice. And what it is that at the time it was made, you know, like vinyl was sort of history, and we were into digital and so on and so forth. And in between then and now, vinyl's made a comeback, and I've got to say, it's never sounded better than it sounds on vinyl. It just sounds ruddy, marvelous. The engineers, I mean, it's obviously the original mixes as I did them, but you know, the guys who've mastered this of vinyl have done a beautiful job, and it sounds fantastic. And it's also a visual treat because, as I'm sure we'll discover, it's on coloured vinyl, and it's just, I don't know, vinyl means something. It really does. You kind of like, it's you can hold it in your hand. It's not like a download, and it's this amazing thing where you just put a plastic with a groove in it down, and you put a needle on it, and out comes all this amazing noise. And it seems even more magical now than it did when I was little, and I used to watch my grandma's 78 go whirring round on an old His Master's Voice turntable. So no, it's anyone who gets this is in for a treat, both audio and visual, if I can say that rather clumsily.
Yeah. And you mentioned some of the cast there, obviously led by Harry Enfield and Olivia Colman. We've also got Felicity Montague, Andrew Sachs, Billy Boyd.
Rob Duncan, Billy Boyd, Toby Longworth as the Electric Monk. Music by Philip Pope, and Philip Pope in his star turn for 30 seconds as the petrol pump attendant. I mean, the cast is just amazing. Jim Carter as Sergeant Gilks. All these sort of names, you know, at the time, Olivia was a very, very talented comedy actress, mostly known for stuff. I'm not sure was Peep Show happening then, but anyway, now of course she's an Oscar winner. And Jim then went on to be the butler in Downton Abbey. Rob Duncan, who was from Drop the Dead Donkey, plays Gordon Way, the unfortunate Gordon Way. And Michael Fenton Stevens plays Michael Wenton Weeks, if I remember the name right. Just, it's a fantastic cast, and there's a wonderful cast page, and it's a sort of usual suspects cast page. I just love that idea that Tom came up with, of making this whole thing about a murder case, like a sort of a case board in a detective agency. Yeah. No, the cast are just amazing, just superb.
And of course, it's all based on the novel by Douglas Adams.
Firmly based on the novel. It's not, we take no liberties, we invent nothing new. My attempt was, a lot of people find reading the novel hard, and what I was trying to do was to make it accessible. And one of the best compliment I got from someone who's a huge Douglas fan was, at last I understood the book after listening to this. Yeah. It actually not only was entertaining, but it also made it clear what was going on. So that was, I felt, the biggest plus.
And I think perhaps if we turn to Tom now, Tom, Dirk's touched there upon how complex the story is, and so in order to illustrate the vinyl and come up with the design, you had to immerse yourself in the story. How did you go about doing that? Tom, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, a little bit of connection issues there. Listening to the brilliant work of what Dirk adapted for this, excellent to listen to and really enjoy along. But throughout it, there was obviously this narrative trying to link all these little parts and little stories together, and the interconnected of all things, I think, was like the main basis of what this idea was. And the evidence wall that we had created for it was basically the general theme, and giving it a very much graphic noir sort of style that people of fans of this genre will recognize.
I love the colouring and the light and the shade that you've introduced there. So was that noir genre the inspiration, the starting point?
Most definitely, yeah. It's almost like a Dick Tracy sort of inspired start, if you like, especially with that strong colour palette of the red, yellow, and blue, with the little bit of sepia tones in there as well, and then really that high contrast bitmap graphic style. People will definitely recognise that from the graphic noir comics and novels. So that's where's my basis, and then in true Douglas Adams style, trying to inject some humour throughout the other smaller parts, as Dirk has captured as well so brilliantly in the series, trying to just amplify that in some of the visuals, really.
So we start here on the front. We've got Dirk Gently at the centre of this. Cleverly, I think you don't show us his features. He remains in our visual imagination, I suppose, his actual facial features. And then as we open up, we've got, as Dirk said, this amazing triple gatefold sleeve. And so, as you say, Tom, this really is an evidence board. And at the centre of it is Dirk himself. It seems to be a little bit tied up. What's with all that red string?
I think that is just, again, trying to get over some of the humour. He's like our main guy, Dirk. He sort of almost stumbles upon solving the case a lot. And I thought Harry Enfield played it brilliantly in the comedic sense of it. And I just thought, like, depicted the interconnected things of all, everything seems to draw to Dirk himself. So that's where that center part was kind of just to say he's actually connected to everything, and he's in a tangled mess almost, and stumbles on solving the crime. So
that's Dirk Maggs. That is the central theme, isn't it? The fundamental interconnectedness of all things.
Absolutely. And what I love about it is how Tom's included so much detail on this. If you actually, when you get your copy, look very closely at all these items on the evidence board, there's kind of gags in there that are you have to look for, that are totally to do with the story. And that's what's most impressive, is that this actually digs really deep into what the story is about, because it's a complicated idea. And one of my particular favorite things is one of the famous parts of Dirk Gently, the first story, is the the sofa that's stuck on the stairs. This is this sort of eternal conundrum. And what Tom's done is, across the 3 albums, gradually solved the problem of the of the thing stuck on the stairs until it's completely disappeared, which is utterly brilliant. But all of these, they all have gags inside as well. I mean, there is so much work. This is the. I'm not sure if this comes across as a compliment or a brag, but I'll just say it anyway. All the work that has gone into the artwork and the presentation of these vinyl albums is equal to all the absolute work that's went into making the mixes sound as dense and cinematic as possible. And I hope that comes across as a compliment, because it is.
Well, I think
it does. Thank you.
That's quite something, Dirk, because I know that you spent hours and hours in actually making and crafting this.
Put it this way, Michael: the money always runs out before the job does.
Yeah, we're all familiar with that.
Yeah.
And let's bring you in then, because what Dirk's touching upon there is the design and the presentation. And that is something that I think is key to Demon Records across the board, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, this is just another one of these kind of, fantastic presentations. Really. I mean, we've been doing this now, Michael, for a couple of years. These records, and every time we do one, I'm always just bowled over by, how we're using that content and really kind of just, moving it on and, adding value to it. I mean, Dirk just touched on the fact that the tangibility of them, and you can probably see behind me, I've got a wall of these things now. I can make a whole house out of them now, but it's just, I'm always blown away, as I said, every time we get one of these in, and the level of creativity and how we're connecting together content, and it's just a perfect fit, really, isn't it? Gives it that real sort of synergy, really, for the listener.
And we should say, this, of course, follows 6 volumes now of Hitchhikers Guide to the Galaxy on vinyl, which 4 series of which are also by Dirk Maggs, and all of which have been designed by Tom and Oink, and I've project edited and you've project managed. So yes, it's we're getting a few things under our belt now, aren't we?
Yeah. I like to think we've been, somebody out there is cursing us for the investments that they've had to spend collecting all this stuff. There must be some people out there who've probably spent a considerable sum by now, but I also like to think we've injected a little bit of joy in their lives as well. So
I think so.
I think that's absolutely true. From what I get feedback, and people are saying, I've got a friend who's actually an audiobook narrator in the States, lives in Los Angeles, and he orders these long distance because he absolutely loves the presentation. He loves everything about them, and he has them displayed in his house, which is real best compliment, really.
Yeah, it's great to hear. So if we just open up again and look on this side here, we've got the front page of the Daily Post, and the headline is "Hello Dirk," and it's written by ace reporter Dirk Maggs. So
yeah, boy reporter, yes.
Yes, indeed. And this is your exclusive sleeve note about your memories of making.
Yeah, of making it, and of Douglas, sort of having trouble calling me Dirk. I have a feeling he never thought he'd actually meet one. I came along after he'd written the books, and I think he used the name because it was such an unlikely name to give anyone. Of course, if you have a Dutch mum like I had, then Dirk is just a regular name in Holland.
Right.
So
it's an extraordinary coincidence, isn't it?
It is, but then you see, we're back to, as Tom was saying, the interconnectedness of all things. That's what it's all about. I think Douglas, obviously, I was meant to collide with Douglas, is what happened. Because after all, as Dirk gently says, even if you don't know where you're going, if you follow someone who looks like they do, you generally arrive at where you need to be. And I think that's probably true of this whole venture.
Yes, I think so. Okay, now we just take a look at the back there, that beautiful shot of Dirk following the missing cat, silhouetted against the setting sun. That's lovely there, Tom.
I think there's something I've got to say. I think Tom's this is so clever, really, because obviously there's a gag about Schrodinger's cat, which, as we all know, is the cat that's in a box. You don't know if it's alive or it's dead. And there's a very witty gag on the spine as well, which I think is utterly brilliant. I mean, it's not often you get a gag on the spine of an album, but you've got half a cat, which is just perfect. The neither alive nor dead cat.
We'll touch in a moment on how that cat might be completed. But before we do that, let's just take a brief look inside. Dirk's already shown us the inner sleeve. So there are 3 discs, and they're each contained within a fully illustrated inner sleeve, including details of the episode transmissions. And then as we pull them out, we find that's disc 1, and that's on a beautiful solid yellow piece of vinyl. And Tom, they're all on different colours, aren't they?
That's correct, yeah. With using our strong colour scheme we've used for it, with yellow, red and blue, we've carried on that theme really, in yellow, red and blue vinyl for each one.
Yeah, that's just, there is the blue.
Now, Michael, I'm going to have to stop you, mate. I'm going to have to stop you because you do know the correct way to handle vinyl.
Oh, God.
Never touch the playing surfaces, children. Daddy will kill you.
Okay.
I know.
Let's see if
Poor Michael.
There we go. There's the
Hey!
beautiful red. So that, I think, is a tour of the artwork and the presentation. But there is a sequel series, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Yes, it's under wraps, of course. It's been it's never been under wraps since 2008. Yes, there's the Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul, which is the sequel, the second and last of the books that was published. And there's a wonderful, a similarly gorgeous version on vinyl coming out, I believe, at some point. I'm looking forward to seeing what Tom and Ben and the guys and you, Michael, do with it. But it's very exciting that both Dirk Gently series will be bookended with each other, which is wonderful news.
Yeah, Tom, I think I know you've been working on it already. I've seen it already, and it looks amazing. But
thank you,
Ben. We are that's something for us to look forward to next year, I think.
Yeah, probably looking for early 21 release on that one. Yeah, so something to get excited about.
So there you have it, Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, and that is available pretty much now.